Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the premiere podcast of the Voices of Portland, which is an initiative sponsored by the Portland Historical Society. This is take number 2, and you're never going to hear take number 1, and so forth. But anyway, with us in the studio here at Connecticut Valley is Miss Barbara Miller, who is an old Portland native from way back and grew up in town. So, hi, Barbara. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing very well. So, tell me a little bit about your family.
Well, I grew up in Portland in 1964. I grew up with the Mifflins. Catherine Mifflin, who was a minister at True Vine Church, the original True Vine Church, and with my brother Buddy, which we call him Buddy, but his name was Charlie Mifflin. Claudia Myers, and all of it. It was a house full of us, and on 7 Bank Street.
Yeah.
It used to be called 7 Bank Street.
Yeah.
And it was a 2-family long house, and my uncle Bill Greg lived on the other side, and we had a lot of company there. The Sansberrys lived there, the Davis lived there.
Yes.
So we had a little track where on the other side of the track where a lot of minorities lived there, and a lot of people forgot that too.
Yeah. Well, the church was right on the corner.
Sure was, right there too. And then there was
diagonally right across from Lemon Smith's store.
That's right. And
See, I remember all.
Yeah, and Mother Shaw had the VFW, we call it.
Yeah.
Us kids was able to go there after school, and the Buttrams, Mother Buttram allowed all the kids to go there.
Oh yeah,
God bless her. She's still living. She's 96 years old. Still living, still driving.
God bless her. Fantastic. Now, obviously, urban renewal, as we call it, that happened, which basically, for the most part, displaced most everybody down there.
And it's sad because not an inch of it's there now.
Yeah, I know. It's that's why we're doing this podcast. Is to make everybody aware of the great people and the great neighborhoods that were down under the bridge.
Yes.
Okay, and that was, of course, as you know, before we went on air, I grew up on the end of Perry Avenue, which is right up off Wolcott there, and so forth. So I was very familiar. I grew up with the Buttrams and so forth. Played baseball at Portland High School. I can remember Junebug.
Junebug, that's right. Oh, Junebug. Yeah.
And so forth, and great. Now, when did you live here?
I lived here in the '60s and all the way up to the '70s.
Okay.
I got married.
Okay, and then you moved to Middletown.
No, I moved to New York.
Oh, okay.
And I was married, and then I had a daughter, and I moved back to Portland. And thank God Mother Shaw was involved with Chatham Court.
Sure, yeah.
And I needed a place to stay. I came out of a domestic violence marriage.
Okay. All
and I was young, and she said, okay, I'm going to try you, but I don't know. But I had to prove my point to her. I was ready to.
Now, did Mrs. Shaw, she lived on the bottom of High Street?
Yes, she did.
Okay.
But I knew Mother Shaw when I was a little girl. There was an incident. She was like a mother to me as well.
Okay.
But she was my protector.
Okay.
And I was going to junior high school at the time up here in Portland. And
which is now the Brownstone Intermediate School. Yeah.
And there was 2 boys about trying to follow me where I was going. So in Portland, in order to get to my house, you would have to go through another African-American neighborhood, but over the tracks, but no one will hear you if you got raped.
Okay.
And in my mind, I knew they was up to something.
Okay.
And the teacher said to my mother, you need someone to pick her up from school. She's from the old school. She didn't drive and whatever. And there was a Portland supermarket at the time.
Sure, yeah.
And I said, well, Lord, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but, for some reason, I threw them both through the window. And Mother Shaw and David Rome somehow came up, and then my social worker came, and Mother Shaw knew. She said she wouldn't have done that just to be doing it. And I told her exactly what I thought was going to happen. And Mother Shaw and David Rome actually paid for the window and took me home and that was it.
For sure. The good old Portland supermarket. Don DeMar, who owned, Portland Super. And a lot of Portland youth worked there,
we worked there. And then the Brownstone brothers that had the Brownstone Pharmacy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the Shaughnas.
My daughter was sick, she needed medical supplies, and I didn't have the money to get it. And they told me about different doctors that they thought that was going to help my daughter, which they did. And I thank God for those guys. I know they're deceased, but they helped me when I came to Portland. And so Portland was good in many ways for the African Americans. And there was a lot of African Americans that actually lived here and enjoyed living here.
Yeah.
And I was just amazed to see how inch by inch they was taking everything away from us, and now you never know we lived here.
Right. Well, we're trying to correct that right now.
I hope so.
We're trying to correct that. Right. Well, I remember, the Brownstone, the Shauna brothers. They had the Brownstone Pharmacy that was once where Malili's was.
Yeah.
Okay, and so forth, and those guys. Well, and at the time, there were only two pharmacies in town. There was a Nino's, okay, and the Brownstone Pharmacy,
That's right.
And so forth. But all of that is kind of gone. The corporate now, when Joey Bordenaro took it over from the Nino's, and it was Bordenaro's pharmacy for many years, and then when he retired, he sold it all to Walgreens, and now it's big corporate.
And it's sad.
Yeah.
You forget about the little people. And I wish they make a stone, as you guys get ready to do this, they need to have a stone for Lisa Mother Shaw, because she absolutely worked hard. You can remember her with the white pearls.
Oh, yes.
And the black dress.
Oh, yes.
She was always it's like she dressed like she was from D.C.
Well,
Washington, D.C. She reminded me of.
Very regal.
Yes.
Very regal.
Because of her, I absolutely followed her footsteps and opened up a youth center myself.
Okay.
It wasn't for her, I don't think I would have opened up a school.
Well, that's the thing. You get to, and obviously when she lived down on the bottom of High Street, and of course her son, Bobby, or we used to call him Shoes.
Shoes, yeah.
And so forth. But right next to Anderson Farm Supply, and my father and Johnny Anderson, and back in the day, were the selectmen. Johnny Anderson, my dad was second selectman, and then we had Ernie Larson, who was back in that day. There was only 3 selectmen. Now the board of selectmen is 7.
Wow!
So we were only back there, and so forth.
Because the Brackets used to live down there, and also the Turners.
Yes, yeah.
It was right there too for many years.
Yeah, exactly. So, I can remember, because I lived on Perry Avenue, and I used to go down when I was going to high school, and this is back in the 70s. I graduated in 70, but back in the late 60s. But I used to walk down to the bottom of High Street, and Midge the barber had that gas station there.
Yeah.
Okay, and his son was running that. But I used to wait there. Good friends of mine, Mr. and Mrs. Formica, lived down on Susan Circle. So I used to walk down there, and she used to pick me up there, and her and her son Ralph, who I was good friends with, brought us up to the high school. So and that was right across the street from Mrs. Shaw, and so, and the Andersons and all that kind of stuff. So wow, yeah, those are some great memories. And so what was your best memory? As far as that you can recall.
2 things. I used to go to the Smitty store, and always Emma and Gracie used to make the small little cups of sweet potato pies. Oh. And every Sunday, when my mom wasn't looking, I would get a quarter from one of the other members of the church, and I'd run up there to get they just waited for me to get my little pie. Okay. I enjoy that. And I also enjoyed that fact that we kids got together and played in the streets safely and had fun.
Well, back in the day, it was, everything today in the kid is they're
it's ridiculous.
It's all screen time now, We could go out and play, and just be home when the street lights come on.
That's the only thing. You got to be home before. There you go. So, but I enjoyed going to the VFW club that Mother Shaw had. It was a safe haven. Yeah. And she knew exactly and she knew all of us by name. Yeah. She knew our parents. She knew where we lived at, so she was really involved. It's like she didn't birth us, but she did. Right. So, well, back in the you had the VFW, you had Bransfield's store down there. Yes, we did. Okay, and then you also had the original Zaz. Yes,
was down there also. Yeah. Okay, and I can remember going down and God rest his soul, Zaz. He would be, of course, he took us fishing one time, my father and I can remember him. And of course, he had no legs, and he had his little trolley, and he wheeled himself around the store. But when we got down on the boat, he basically rolled himself up onto the dock and flung himself off on the dock into the boat, and ba-boom. And
he was there.
Let's go, he said, and so forth. But, he was the best at, tying flies, and, everybody got his bait. And I can remember his son used to get all his minnows up, because I worked for the water department for many years. He used to go up to the reservoir, and catch his minnows up in the other side of the road up there, and so forth. But there were some good times.
Good times in Portland.
Yes, there was, and but that's people don't remember that.
They don't, and it's so sad.
So your house was a long 2-family house?
Yes, my mom owned it.
Yeah, and so did you have? Were you into any sports when you were growing up?
Oh yeah, I love football.
Okay.
I like tackle, so I was always, that's why I always get a little spanking sometimes.
You weren't afraid to mix it up with the boys.
So and I love to go outside to pick on the berries.
Okay.
Because we'll sit there and put enough berries in a bowl, and we put sugar in them, and we sit there and eat them.
Why not?
Blueberries. And she was happy because it kept us outside, and especially in the wintertime. So she said, "Where the kids? They're outside eating berries."
Sure.
So those are the kind of life that I think a lot of the kids are missing.
Yeah.
Nature
and you had the church now, the services at the church.
Oh yeah.
Tell us a little about that.
Well, Mother Hodges is still living. Margaret Hodges was the one that would do conventions, and we would go to Philadelphia.
Really?
Yep. We'd go to Washington's because we sung.
Okay.
So it was the choir, the children's choir.
Okay.
And we had that long bus where we had to be at that bus at the church at 12 o'clock, and we'd be on our way to D.C. or Philadelphia.
Wow.
So Margaret is actually still living. She's about 100 now.
Wow.
But she remembers who I am, because she'll say, "That's Sister Mifflin's daughter." And her great-grandkids say, "You don't know her." She said, "Oh, yeah, because she was on that bus many nights."
Now, did you have, when you went and sung with her, did you have a piano accompanist that
Yes,
played?
I had to play the piano myself.
You had to play the piano.
I had to play the piano. Buddy had to play guitar. Claudia had to play the piano.
Okay.
So in our household, you had to play music, but you had to sing.
Okay.
So, but I didn't want to become a minister.
Okay.
You see enough of that at the church.
Yeah.
But in our house, you did have to play music.
So when was the weekly service? On Sunday?
Sunday, Tuesdays, Fridays, and sometimes Saturdays.
Wow. And what was, how many were in the congregation?
We always had a full house. About at that church, we have about 150.
Wow.
And the ministers would come. The board of directors, they make the choice. Reverend Marshall was the last one that was from D.C., because my daughter was the last one who got baptized at the old church.
Wow.
Catherine was the last one.
Fantastic. So growing up, what chores did you have to do?
Well, in my mother's house, you had to clean the house.
Okay.
You had to clean outside.
Yeah.
If the deacon from the church had fish, you had to sit there and clean the fish. And once in a while, they'll forget the little snakes, I call them, inside the bucket. I wouldn't touch it. So I'd rather get a beating than touch it.
So that was the worst chore.
Yeah, that was the worst.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. Now, I think from that standpoint, you got, obviously most people were very religious.
Oh, yes.
And so forth. And I think that was just kind of ingrained in the households.
Yes.
Growing up and being
You had to go to church.
You had to go to church, Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord, even if you didn't like it.
Now, so you went to the Brownstone School, which is okay.
Portland, yeah.
Now, was that
in high school too?
Oh, okay, in the high school. You went to Portland High?
Mm-hmm.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
I went to all the schools.
Okay, and because, back then was, what grades were were at the Brown? Was that the first?
The junior high?
Yeah, the junior high.
The junior high, I think it was 8th.
Till 8.
And then you go to the high school.
To the high school. Now, where did you go to grammar school?
Snow.
Over in Middletown.
Not Snow, right here in Portland.
Snow.
With a Snow?
Valley View. Oh, okay, Valley View. Oh, okay, Valley all right, there we go.
I went to Valley View School in Portland.
Okay, there we go. All right. Now, who do you remember who your teachers were?
One of the teachers that I remember that was very close to me, that she was my protector, was Mrs. Cox, C-O-X.
Oh, okay. Yes.
She was a protector for me.
Was that Jenny Cox?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes, I remember.
She was, for some reason, I never forgot her.
Yes. Well, we're going to shout out to Jenny. Okay.
Please do. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yes. Well, Jenny, my cousin Candy, okay, she taught at Valley View.
Oh, okay.
Or at Gildersleeve.
Gildersleeve School.
And so forth. And her and Jenny were real close. Anyway, and so was the school experience? What were the activities that you took part in at school?
Activity was the arts. I was always into arts stuff like that in school, and believe it or not, I liked math. I liked to figure out things. I did like reading. I just didn't show them enough that I did, but I loved reading. If you give me a book that keeps my mind going,
sure.
I did that, and for some reason, when I was a little girl, I said, you know what? When I grew up, I'm going to write a book. So I did write 2 books. So
really,
I was able to do that.
And what are the titles?
The first one is God's Open Doors.
Oh, okay.
And the other one is God's Open Doors, My Journey, about my life, what made me open up my school. Because people will say, why did you open up the center? Yeah, well, it was a gift. It's something I wanted to do.
Well, sometimes the Lord speaks to you.
The Lord speaks to you in that way.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just saw one of my students from Texas, and he stopped by him and his wife to say, "You still here?" I said, "Yeah, I'm still here." But I retired from that, and then I worked for mental health for 30 years.
Okay.
For the state of Connecticut, but I needed to take care of me now. So.
Okay. Now, when you worked for the state, was that Middletown or?
Yep, I worked in Middletown, but I retired from Bridgeport.
Oh, Bridgeport. Okay, all right. Well, then of course now you remember the old youth center, which was the old senior center, which is they moved.
Yeah.
Okay, which is right next to the sewer plant down there, and so forth, and that became the youth center, and then they moved that, and whatever, it was that was back in the day, for sure. And then you had obviously you had Standard Nap, both Plant 1 and Plant 2.
Yeah.
Okay, and you had Robert Gere, which was the cardboard factory, which is now the lighting place, so forth. I remember growing up on Perry Avenue, we used to go up, and they used to run at Robert Gere. They used to run 3 shifts down there making cardboard. And we used to go down there, and they had the windows right by the hill there, and they used to give us these pieces of cardboard, and we would slide down the hill, and so forth. And then I also remember we had they have truck drivers. They delivered all the cardboard all over the state, but we used to go down, and there was one truck driver that. He always used to let me, when he came in, I was always keep an eye out when he came in, because he would always let me crank the wheels down, or on the trailer. That was a big thing. And then when the train came through, then I got
time to get a ride.
Yeah, well, I ended up, of course, they right at Cork Hill there. They had the lights on there, and but those lights they had to turn them on manually. So I got friendly with the engineer. He used to go down and used to plug them in to turn the lights on, and when the trades came on.
You were busy.
Oh yeah, well that's part of the neighborhood, man.
That's how you fun.
But those are some of the great memories that are gone, kind of gone by the wayside. Now, when you relocated, after the urban development, where did your family go?
Well, my mom, Miss Mifflin, died from cancer, so she passed away. So took care of her. And my sister Claudia passed away, and Buddy passed away.
Yeah.
And so I just moved to Middletown. And that's when I decided to open up. I have a friend youth center in Middletown.
Nice. Now, where's that located?
It was on South Main Street. It's called Barbara Miller's I Have a Friend Youth Center. You can Google it. They got it, for some reason they have it there.
Really?
Yeah, you can Google it. It's right there, all about the history of it. And,
fantastic.
I had it for 22 years.
Uh-huh.
And then medically, you know how you get older, your knees and everything.
Oh, I know the feeling.
And so I decided it was nonprofit, and my daughter, I couldn't pay her what she went to college for. So
yeah,
I couldn't get anybody to step out on faith the way I did with it.
well,
And then so.
well, you had a passion for that, you
I
know,
did.
and you know, back in the day, you know, it wasn't about the money.
It wasn't at all.
You know, it was about the youth,
right?
You know, and so forth.
And that's what the guy that owned the building, him and his wife said the same thing. They said if she leaves, that's it. He said because her heart was in it.
Yeah,
because every year they'll come in town just to see and
you know everything going. Yeah,
and they loved it then.
Exactly.
But the kids turned out good.
So now, and I think, you know, when you moving to Portland and so forth, and your life experiences, you know, obviously being part of the church music was a big part of it.
Still is.
Okay, and so now, do you play piano?
No, I don't play piano anymore.
Okay, you don't play.
But singing, I still do.
You're singing, you still do. Okay, yeah. And now, do you still
go to church?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have to. Yeah, I love church.
Okay.
I love the Lord. So
there you go.
I depend on God. You can take that to the bank.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And now you also have a passion for poetry, or?
Yes.
Okay. How did you get into that?
Maya Angelou was the first one, and I just love poetry.
Okay.
And that's how it started.
Have you written any poetry?
No, people keep asking me. I just might. My third book might be poetry because I have been asked to do one.
Now, with your books, do you self-publish those? Or?
The first one was done by Godfrey Library, and the second one is Amazon. And the proceeds goes to the state of Connecticut to support children.
Okay.
Because back in the older days, I used to live at Long Lane. Long Lane, Children's Home.
Okay.
Home.
That's up on the hill.
Not Long Lane. What's the name of the other one? It's in past Hartford. Warehouse Point.
Oh, Warehouse Point.
I used to live at Warehouse Point at one time.
Okay.
And so my goal was to send money to children.
Okay.
So the proceeds of that, even when I'm deceased, goes to the state of Connecticut.
Oh, nice. Children. Very nice.
So
very
that
nice.
goes to the family.
Yeah, my daughter's a social worker. In fact, she graduated from Wheelock College up in Boston, but she worked at the villages up in Hartford, you know, and so forth. So she had
she sees a lot.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does. You know, but you know, it's like she's right now she's a social worker for the town of Manchester. She works in the school system, but you know, but
I know what she's going through.
Yeah, well, it's, you know,
but she'll make an impact on somebody.
Oh, it definitely does. Definitely does. And
Mine's Bill O'Brien was mine for years, and how I was able to write the book by accident.
Okay.
I was going down Main Street, and I was just coming out of a meeting, and I saw the short little white guy, and he stopped, and I looked, and I said, "What is your problem?" And I guess that's how I was when I was younger. I would ask the same question.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, no." He said, "I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm not trying to disrespect you." I said, "Oh, okay." So I just kept walking. He stopped again, and he walked up towards me, behind me. He said, "Ma'am, I'm not trying to be funny. Do you know a Barbara James?" And I looked at him, and I said, "Well, who is she to you?" And then all of a sudden, he smiled. And I guess that's the way I used to talk when I was younger. And I said, "Excuse me, but who is she to you?" And he says, "Oh my God!" So he takes his hat off, and I said, "Do I still supposed to know you?" And he said, "Barbara, this is Bill." I said, "Bill who?" "Bill O'Brien. I haven't seen him in 50 years."
Wow.
And then I said, "Oh my Lord!" And I hugged him, and he hugged me, and he started to cry. And he said, "Wait a minute. Do you own a school? Do you own after use program?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Because I'd be sending kids to you." I said, "Yeah, that's me." But I didn't know it was him.
Oh, wow.
And so I invited him to the center, and I have pictures that they took. You know,
wow.
We always celebrate our big time.
Well, Bill was from Portland as well.
Bill O'Brien.
Yeah. Wasn't he? Was he involved with the radio station over there? WCNX?
I don't recall.
I
he
thought,
might have been, but
okay,
I
thought there was a Bill O'Brien that.
But the Bill O'Brien now, he's older, but he lives in Manchester.
Okay, all right.
And he.
Because I went to school with a David O'Brien.
It might have been his son.
Okay.
I know he has children, because I know one of his children is a social worker. But I met his wife for the first time.
Okay.
And he said, I said, Bill, can I ask you a favor? And he said, yes. He came to the school, and the kids was wondering why he was crying.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said, oh my God. And then he said, will you forgive me? And I said, forgive you? Yes. For what? And then I said, yeah, I forgive you. Because back in the 50s and 60s, a social worker write exactly what they're supposed to write when they go to college.
Yeah.
And they said that I was supposed to have been a slow, dark Negro child.
Really?
So when they typed it, it stayed in the book.
Yeah.
And I said, oh man, if I turn out to be the way you thought I would, I'll be a lost person. So I hugged him, and he cried, and he was so proud. And and
wow.
He told his family, and I said, can I have some more records? And he said, yeah. He was getting ready to retire, and he said, yes, you can have anything you want. And I said, because I'm going to finish writing my other book. And that's how I was able to write the book.
Nice.
And he was so proud. He really was so proud. He says, who knew? I said, you wasn't supposed to know. I said, sometimes y'all social workers, you have an impact on people's lives. You just don't know when.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing how that works.
Yeah, so I dedicate the first book to him.
Nice. Very, very nice. In retrospect, do you think the redevelopment agency could have done things different?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
They made the mistake of not talking and asking questions instead of just tearing everything apart thinking that it's good. That's the problem with corporate.
Yeah, well, and I agree with you, because the neighborhoods down there were, because I used to,
know what it's like.
I knew what it's like, because I used to, when I worked in high school, I had a part-time job reading water meters for the water department. And I used to go down in all of those basements, okay, and most of them were dirt floors. Okay, you go down and read the water meter and get down. And, of course, then you had the Salisbury, which is over on the other side of the track, okay, and so forth. But the water line went under the track over there. You had water over there, and so forth. But, and we had, obviously, Lemon Smith's store. That was a staple. That was, you can get, penny candy. I don't know.
Yeah, I used to buy penny candy all the time.
Okay, that, and I don't know if you remember Bill's Market, which was down across the bottom.
Yep.
It used to be, it used to be the Subway.
Subway.
Yeah, but that used to go down there and so forth. But
and I think if they talk with us and ask people how they feel or respect them enough to get ideas and grow together, it'd be a whole lot better. But people just assume because you have a lot of money in corporate, and then corporate is about falling apart now anyway.
Well, that's the thing.
Oh, it's coming down.
It's all, corporate they're all bean counters.
Yeah.
And if the beans don't add up, then we got to change it. And that sometimes that doesn't pan out very well.
No, what the good law said was up here comes down here. Down here goes up there.
Exactly.
Right, Barbara? Yeah. Because sooner or later, it's sad to say, my feeling is corporate is going to fall, because when you look at these high-priced apartments, honestly, people are losing their jobs.
Well, yeah.
Who's going to afford them?
Well, the thing is,
taxes.
My wife and I bought this music store back in 1984 from Joe and Sophie Saflicki. Okay, and I used to teach. I was a music teacher. Okay, I taught in Hartford. At the Hartford Conservatory, and I used to buy all my strings here, and I lived over on Perry Avenue, and they used to have chairs downstairs, and Joe used to, teach guitar, and he was an accordion guy, and he repaired accordions and so forth. But, I've been here 40 years, and it's like you look at the amount of what we call brick and mortar stores, okay, they're dropping like flies.
Yeah.
It's now the big corporate guitar centers, these all mail order places and so forth. And, that's, to me, that's a shame, because it's the brick and mortar stores like this that make up the fabric of a community. And
yes.
You don't realize that, because, I get the high school, you have the sports programs, the band boosters, and this and that. They always come in and ask for, and I always donate, to these, because that's what it's all about.
That's why you're blessed.
And that, it's just like you. It's not about the money. It's all about the fabric and so forth. And Barbara's over there not.
Barbara knows. Barbara Shaw do know.
Yes, yes. So anyway, so what do you feel is important for the future generations to learn about Portland and Portland's Black history?
I feel that they should have something, even if it's a museum or something to show that minorities, blacks, lived here in Portland, and we have started things that they're starting to do themselves, but they want to get all credit, and they can't do that.
Right, right.
The people that you push under your feet are the ones who started Portland.
Yeah, yeah.
And no joke. And that's what I'm more concerned about, is that people are forgetting the people that they push under their feet are the ones that started Portland. Right. And Portland was huge.
Sure.
But if you go look at it now, it's nothing. You would never think not one person lived black in Portland. Yeah. And it's a shame.
Well, you know.
It really is a shame.
That's the thing. You know, when all of your ancestors and your family, and they grew up here, and the Shaws, the Mifflins, everybody. You know, like I said, my father was selectman back with Johnny Anderson, who was first selectman. And, you know, one of the things that he was proud of, and he would always, when people came to Portland, he always looked at Portland's history. He always took people down to look at the brownstone quarries. Mm-hmm. You know, this is where, you know, all of the buildings in New York and Boston and San Francisco, these are made from brownstone that was mined here in Portland. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the people down under the bridge, going down and you know, buying all your fishing gear from Zaz and so forth. And you had the VFW, you had Truvon, you had Lemon Smiths, you had the Bransfield.
Even Chatham Court was really started with Mother Shaw. People forgot that. It was Jeannie Shaw who actually made it possible for Chatham Court.
Yeah.
She and everybody forgot that. It wasn't a corporate, everybody. Jeannie Shaw was the first person that started Chatham Court. And you don't see her name nowhere on those buildings.
Yeah.
No history about she's the starter.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is a shame.
Well, we're going to see if we can fix that.
I hope so.
We're going to see if we can fix that. So anyway, is there any other topics that you want to touch on?
Well, I hope that Portland opens its doors and try to make it possible to show that we did exist.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, because it's sad. Because it's like I was talking to someone the other day. When I think about the Long Village up there in Middletown.
Yeah, Long River Village, yeah.
They built nothing but trees there.
Yeah.
You never think that people was living there.
Yeah, exactly.
My sister used to live there herself.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there and I'm saying, yep, eventually one day corporate's going to buy it and they're going to build fancy houses that nobody can afford to buy. Yeah. And then somebody will lose it, you know, whatever. And it's sad that corporate, they may be on top now, but they're going to start falling.
Yeah, yeah. Now, have you been a part of the Juneteenth present?
My niece is, Cassandra Winborn is my niece.
Okay, all right.
She's headed, I told her do her thing, but you know, it's sad because they're giving her a highway to go, but I worked with her. I taught her a little bit of things here and there about grants. Yeah, yeah. And I said, honey, you just got to stand tall and remember how I taught you. You got to get those grants, but speak up.
Yeah.
And so she's starting, but she heads that.
Well, that's great.
Her and Hunter, I think the young lady is Sandy Hunter.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they do it together. But Sandra Winborn is the head.
Yeah. I know one of my neighbors, Josh Curzan. Okay, he spoke it.
Yeah, that's my niece, and she's doing a good job.
Yes, she is.
I'm very proud of her.
Yes. Go from there. So anyway, all right, Barbara, thank you so much for coming down.
Thank you for inviting me, and I thank Barbara for getting a hold of me. I wouldn't miss her for nothing in the world.
All right.
So she's like my sister.
Well, my big sister. Yes, she is.
I wouldn't have. I said, Lord, the devil busy, but I got the. I was like, come on, sister, I'll pick you up. Let's go.
Exactly. Well,
and I thank Liz for inviting me too, because.
Well, the Historical Society has done a yeoman's job. Okay, in going back and recreating a lot of what made Portland. you know, and nice. You're one piece of that puzzle.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing. You know, we got a lot of work to do, but we just got to keep.
And I'll keep you guys in prayer, but you do.
Thank you so much. All right, Barbara, it was good to see you over here. She's over there sitting there off
She's
camera.
Happy.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is, as well as she should be. So anyway. Happy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our first episode of the Voices of Portland. And with us in the studio is Miss Barbara Miller. And she has, I think, shed a light on, you know, urban renewal in town, what goes down, you know, what was down under the bridge under Portland. You know, I think there was a lot that was happening down there, but there was also industrial. I mean, we had Anderson. You know,
the factory was right across from the church on the right-hand side.
Oh yeah, I can. Like I say, I remember reading all the water meters as far as that goes. So anyway, Barbara, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That concludes this episode of the Voices of Portland. Stay tuned. We're going to be doing some more, and it's going to be an enlightening experience. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
This episode of the Voices of Portland project was supported by funding through Connecticut Humanities. Connecticut Humanities is an independent, nonprofit affiliate of the National Endowment for the Humanities and connects people to the humanities through grants, partnerships, and collaborative programs. Their projects, administration, and program development are supported by state and federal matching funds, community foundations, and gifts from private sources. Learn more by visiting cthumanities.org. In addition to Connecticut Humanities, the Portland Historical Society, the Town Committee on Solidarity, and the Portland Public Library, this project was made possible through the support of the Town of Portland, the Portland Public Schools, Connecticut Valley School of Music and Dance, the Friends of the Portland Library, and the tireless work of our planning team community volunteers, David Rohn and Barbara Shaw. Want to learn more? Please join us at our live Voices of Portland panel presentation on Saturday, February 22nd, 2025 at 1 p.m. at the Portland Middle School. For additional information and to register to attend, you can check out the library's website at portlandlibraryct.org. Thank you.